Good morning and welcome to Wake Up Well. We're continuing our theme of outrageous faith, and this morning we're going to be looking at 1 Kings 17, just the first 6 verses, and we're going to be looking at Elijah the prophet, what an incredible man of faith he was, and just in this short snippet we can learn so much about living out a life of outrageous faith. Chapter 17. Now Elijah, who was from Tishbe in Gilead, told King Ahab, "As surely as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, the God I serve, there will be no dew or rain during the next few years until I give the word." Then the Lord said to Elijah, "Go to the east and hide by Kerith Brook, near where it enters the Jordan River. Drink from the brook and eat what the ravens bring you, for I have commanded them to bring you food." So Elijah did as the Lord told him and camped beside Kerith Brook, east of the Jordan. The ravens brought him bread and meat each morning and evening, and he drank from the brook. But after a while the brook dried up, for there was no rainfall anywhere in the land. Now I absolutely love these couple of verses, and when you actually dig into them deeper, you can really see what it is to live that life of outrageous faith, trusting in our God. And Elijah does it so well. He's a man of single-mindedness. He loved the Father so passionately, and he was just wanting to do what he said. And it's that what we learn from Elijah. There was 2 things he did in living his life of faith, and it was to listen to what the Father said, and secondly, just to obey what he said. It was that simple. And I think these are things that we can take on our own faith journeys. And how do we do it? We just do, as Elijah did here. We listen to what the Father's saying, we listen to his word, and we obey him. We surrender all that is inside us wanting to battle against that, and we obey him if we really want that life of life to the full. First of all, we see Elijah doing that when he goes and speaks to the king, and maybe God's told you to speak to people in the past and give them words, and often it's words of encouragement, words of edification, but this certainly wasn't. And the king was after Elijah, and he came with even worse news, that there'd be a drought in the land. And I just love how Elijah, the word wasn't a great one to be bringing to the king, but he just did what he said. He listened and he obeyed. Secondly, when God told him where to go, what to do, again, he listened to God and he obeyed what God said. There's obviously this drought in the land, and God really provided for him, perhaps in ways that Elijah never thought he would be provided for. So Elijah did exactly what he said. He went where God told him to go, and he waited there. And I love the fact that it's ravens. I've never really thought about it. Why was it ravens that brought him food? And looking back into the biblical context of this, ravens are not the most attractive of birds. A dove may have been better, but ravens were seen as unclean, especially amongst the Jewish people. They were also scavenger animals. And I just love the way God goes against a lot of our rules and practices that we have, and it just really humbles us, and he brings things that maybe we didn't think he'd use to come and feed us and to sustain us. And he does in the physical sense here. He brings these ravens. The second thing I love about this is he brings them in the morning and then in the evening as well. I know if I was camped out here, I would be wanting to store up the bread and the meat that I was being brought, just in case they didn't arrive a second time. And I can just imagine that the ravens brought just enough for the morning to sustain him throughout the day, and then in the evening for overnight. And that's the way the Father works. He likes he loves these faith gaps, because it gives us the chance to just rely solely on him. And I do feel that in this case, maybe Elijah was being taught that he needs to rely on him more, and by just bringing in that bread and meat in the morning and in the evening, he had to rely on God every single day for that. Now I just love the fact that it is just so simple in a way, but it's also a narrow path. It's really difficult. Listen to the Lord and obey him. Now in Matthew's gospel, when Jesus has been led into the wilderness, the the enemy comes and says, turn this stone into bread, you can be fed. And I love Jesus' response here of, man cannot live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. And, we see here how Elijah was sustained by bread and meat brought by the ravens, and his physical body was sustained. But actually, if you look deeper, it was the word of God that sustained him. It was God speaking to him and Elijah obeying him, and that's really what sustained him. That's what sustained his body, his mind and his spirit, his whole being. So I just bless you today. I bless you in all of your faith journeys, and I bless you to listen to your Father and to obey him with all your heart.